Hi, my name is Rossi Eason, and I'm the author of the Restore Black America book and the founder of the Restore Black America Foundation. And as some of you may know, I like to bring on guests that can sort of give us an expertise in the 6 areas of the Restore Black America plan, which are culture, economics, politics, family health, and spirituality. Now, today I have on a very special guest by the name of Dr. Gayla Gates, who is an actual doctor that focuses on overall healing, both natural and medicinal healing. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I wanted to have Dr. Gayla on today. One is because there's so many health issues that we have in our community that could simply be avoided by simply having a more deliberately healthy lifestyle, whether that be due to bad cultural ideologies about food, whether it be to lack of options or what have you. Many of those things could be prevented if we were just more deliberate in sort of our approach to health. So that's one reason. The other reason why I wanted to have Dr. Gayla on today is because as the idea of becoming healthy is starting to become more and more popular, it seems like corporations have sort of hopped on the bandwagon and started trying to label everything as healthy as more of a marketing strategy. So it's getting more and more difficult to tell what's what. So I wanted to get Dr. Gayla on today, who's an actual doctor that can give us some clear insight on how to approach the healthy side of our life. And our lifestyles. Now, one thing I will say is that so many of us are so focused on making money and being so busy with life that oftentimes we sort of forget to take care of our health. And at the end of the day, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So I figured this would be a pretty important interview. Dr. Gayla, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Dr. Gayla, how are you doing today?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for being on today. Now, I want to go ahead and get right into it. If you don't mind, could you start out by just giving us a little bit about your background, both personal and professional?
Absolutely, yes. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. This is exciting. I am an Atlanta native. I'm from Georgia, and I was one of those people that always knew that I wanted to be a doctor. Even from a young child's eyes, I just had a gift for healing. That's really why I feel like I'm on this earth, to heal people. And so I was very, very young when I made the choice, and I was blessed to have parents that were supportive of that. And so all throughout my years, I studied and worked hard and went on to med school. I went to undergrad at Tuskegee and went on to med school, and really just threw it all in, just went there 100% committed, learned a ton, and got out and practiced. It was in 2008 when I finished my residency and in primary care medicine, family medicine. And I chose that because I wanted to be able to understand people in all aspects of life. So from the mother that's pregnant to the little baby that you deliver, right, up until the person is 90 or 100 or ready to transition out. I've seen it all. And, and that's really how I got started with it. And in the last 10 years, oh, man, we have so many stories and experiences, and healthcare has changed a lot. My passion is healing. It's about healing. And anything we can do to encourage people to really embrace that aspect of it, instead of looking at all the small, pieces of it, we just look at it as one big piece called healing. I think we'll be very, very successful. And that's sort of my story. I've had some personal things happen in my life that I know others go through too. And I have a special feeling, a special love for healers, because a lot of times we're expected to keep going, right, no matter what happens to us. And I've had both of my parents transition much earlier than I would have expected from cancer. And having buried both of them and having both of them actually die in my arms, and you watch that last breath just go and watch that energy change, it's life-changing. So, yeah, I've been through some things, and I love to inspire people to figure out how to keep going.
Wow. Okay, that's a very inspiring story. Yeah, a lot there. Now, I kind of want to go ahead and get right into the interview. And so many of us, particularly, especially in the African-American community, it seems like a lot of us come from a sort of a lineage of such things as diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, and a number of other diseases that seem to be consistent within our community. And oftentimes in the world of medicine, I know that they tell you that these diseases are hereditary, but however, these diseases didn't always exist. So my question to you is, how much of that is hereditary through genetics versus, let's say, hereditary through eating habits?
Oh, boy, that's an excellent question, and it's loaded. So it's a great question, and it's very important, too. Of course, you're right. We're all little bitty tiny cells, and we're all put together to make our organs, to make our systems. And we are all made of DNA, and we're all energy. So we all have that part of us there no matter what. You get a blueprint when you're born. And it's interesting because some of our spiritual leaders will say how, guess what, you've inherited energy from your ancestors that you don't even know. And it's a part of you, right, that you have in your blueprint from all they went through, good and bad. And then, of course, you have what experiences you had when you were in the womb, right, when you were growing. And you can honestly sit back and pay attention to a baby that was born in a very loving environment, very calm, very quiet, and you can see a baby that's been born into chaos, whose mom may have gone through some trauma. And so it's deeper than we believe, and I've seen it. I've seen children who were born into this world addicted to drugs, right, because of what their uterine environment was like. And taking care of that newborn is totally different from how you take care of a newborn that wasn't exposed to those chemicals. So all that can shape you even before you're speaking, when you're just a little one. So you have all that. And then, of course, you have the lifestyles, the environments, the cultural eating. All of that matters. And then not only do you have that part, now you have your own life and your own stress and how you tend to cope with it. So a lot of what we know today as disease, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, is really a lack of ease. If you break the word down, it's dis-ease. It's lack of ease, right? And so we've coined the term disease and give it attachment and identification to all these different things. But really, when you look at it, a lot of it stems from our emotions. It stems from our thoughts as well. And then you add on the DNA blueprint that you're born with, and then you add on the society part. And it's interesting because there's science now showing how we can control what genes we express. Which genes are, just because you got them don't mean they're going to come out. So when we do a history in medicine, for instance, Rossi, we ask people, well, what's your family history? That's a big part of it. What's your social history? We get this long story to tell about that particular patient when we get to know them, and we generate a whole physical exam based on this history this person's telling us, right? And sometimes we identify with it. Oh, everybody in my family's got diabetes, so I know I'm going to get it. Well, guess what? You set the intention to happen. What if you're the one that doesn't get it? Yeah. So that's what I really want people to understand. It's multifactorial.
No, that was excellent. That was a very robust answer. And like you said, I think a lot of times in the world of health, we do try to break things down to make it very one-dimensional versus sort of your approach. You're looking at everything. You're looking at DNA, diet, health, lifestyle, stress, spirituality, which I think is what sort of makes up your concept of overall healing, which I think is fantastic. Now, I do kind of want to stay, though, in the realm of diet for a second. This is something I found interesting. So as I kind of mentioned to you earlier during the introduction, we're kind of going through a health craze right now on so many levels. And because of that, I see that it's becoming more of a marketing idea for many companies. So I wanted to get, an actual maybe definition from a doctor. Could you tell us what is the actual definition of organic? And before you answer that, the reason why I was asking is, I kid you not, Dr. Gayla, a couple of weeks back I was actually in the grocery store, and I saw some organic gummy bears. And I'm saying to myself, how can gummy bears be organic? Like, at what point does this, stop? So I'm just curious to know, could you maybe give us some clarity on that?
That's an excellent question, too. You think the word organic, when you really look at it, the way it's being used right now in terms of our vegetables and our fruits and how it's grown, it's basically a set of guidelines and rules. And you'll see USDA organic on a lot of labels. And that just means that it's grown in a particular environment in soil that hasn't used certain amount of pesticides. And there's a bunch of testing that you do. There's a bunch of qualifications you have to go through if you want to be an organic farmer to carry products that don't contain pesticides and chemicals, or a certain level of pesticides and chemicals. That also is different based on where you live, what country you're in. So the United States has a definition of it. When you go to Europe, they have a different criteria for labeling organic. In terms of practicality and for the average consumer, you really just want to look and say, okay, how was this vegetable grown or this fruit grown? Was it sprayed with chemicals? And when you're choosing that, you want to think about fruits and vegetables. That's where you want to consider something being organic or not. Of course, you can take unhealthy items. You mentioned the gummy bears. And because people are, really reading labels and being conscious of what it means, they may get, they may look at that product and say, this organic is okay to eat. And that's not true.
Right.
Now, I will tell you this is very interesting. Most people don't think about reading their labels, right? I went to the store and I was looking at some chocolate-covered almonds. There were 2 packages of almonds. There was one that was organic and one was not. Of course, the organic ones are going to be more expensive. But this is an interesting point, because the ones that were not organic, when I read the labels, because I read everything, it had artificial dyes in them. So if you have yellow dye and you have other chemicals, you can't label that product as organic, even though they were both chocolate-covered almonds. The organic ones didn't have those chemicals in them. So even a dessert can be flawed.
Right. Interesting. Okay, yeah, and I'm glad you were able to clear that up, because as you can see, it's kind of a convoluted concept. It's good to have someone with some expertise on health, and kind of stemming from that as well, since, again, we're kind of talking about a lot of the healthy lifestyle, which a lot of it has to do with, dietary things, as well as many of the other things that you mentioned previously. And there seems to be so many different lifestyles out there, such as veganism or vegetarianism, or being a pescatarian or what have you. For what you know about the human body, is there one of these lifestyles that's necessarily better than the other, or does it depend on your body chemistry?
That's a great question, too. I really think it does somewhat depend on the body chemistry and what that person has gone through and what the body needs. And it's very difficult to pigeonhole yourself into one lifestyle or another, or one form of diet or another. I do think it's individualized. And from what I've seen and from what I've experienced in medicine, and also listening to some other experts that are leading the way with the plant-based diet, really what it is you want whole foods. You want foods that your great-great-grandmother would recognize. That's the best way to describe it.
Right.
Because she wouldn't know what microwave popcorn is. She wouldn't understand what McDonald's is, or, you know what I mean, or processed foods, or food in a box, because they lived on the earth. So buying foods and having foods in your diet that are more whole plant-based, that are one ingredient, right? It's just an apple. You know what I mean? When you look at the back of it, it's an apple. I think that's really how you have health. Now, if a person is, say, suffering from a chronic illness, or say they have a cancer, or, they're very, very ill, that person might need twice as much vitamins and nutrition, right, than somebody else that's not. So it depends on the person as well.
That's true. Okay, that makes sense. Another thing, and just in reference to that, too, because, a lot of people, there's a lot of, speculation on there as to how often you should eat. I know traditional science said that you should eat 3 times a day. I've seen some experts say you should only eat one time a day. Some people say between 4 and 6. Is there a particular amount of time that we should be eating, or amount that we should be eating per day? In terms of 3 meals, should it be 1 meal, or does that also depend on the individual?
It depends on the individual. Absolutely, it depends. If you're an athlete, you're going to have a totally different diet from somebody that's sedentary in a bed, right? Those are two extremes. But, yeah, it does depend on the person. It depends on what their caloric need is. And everybody's different based on their weight, too. A person that weighs more, for instance, and that's active, they're going to have more need for energy than a small, petite person that may not be working out and exercising as much. So, again, that's where it is individualized. It's a great question. It's definitely individualized. Big picture for the average person that's not one of those extremes, I do think we eat a lot. There's food everywhere. You drive down the street, there's a restaurant, you can just stop 2 seconds, $5, you got food. You don't even have to cook it. So, yeah, it's a lot of, we call it food-like substances and empty calorie foods that are available to us. And so in terms of how often someone should be eating, it really depends on their lifestyle, but it really is what you're eating. That's the key.
This is true, because you're absolutely right. There's a lot of food that you can get, and even though it may be filling, a lot of times there's zero nutrients in any of that stuff that you're eating.
That's right.
Now, one thing I want to talk about, if we could kind of get into some facts versus myths on this particular question. I know a lot of people have the idea, they say, look, I can eat whatever I want as long as I exercise. And then you have some people that, don't exercise at all, and they say, oh, well, I just eat healthy. What would the ideal, I guess, healthy lifestyle look like for someone? If you were to maybe sit in front of a patient, or if you were to advise someone to sort of move in that direction, what would that look like? Is it the eating? Is it the exercise? Or what would that look like as a total picture?
That's a good question. It's both. I've spent some time with some personal trainers and the way that they educate and coach people, and I agree with them. 80% of it's nutrition. 80% of it's nutrition is what you put in, and then the other part obviously is the exercise and moving on from there. And a lot of people have different metabolisms, and their body styles are different, and so they're going to gain or lose or look a certain way based on how they're made up anyway. And that person's, like, for instance, if you have a person that's real thin and maybe they don't have a whole lot of muscle mass, well, they're going to look different with their diet changes compared to somebody who may be really, really big and bulky. And so, but at the end of the day, it's important to have the proper nutrition, because if you look at your body like you look at your car, if you go buy a luxury vehicle and they tell you need 93 octane gas and you decide to put 87 in your car, what's going to happen to your engine?
Right.
No matter what you're in, right? No matter what car you're in. When that manufacturer say this engine was made for this oil, for this gas, so or this car was made for this gas, then you're going to get the best use out of it. Well, it's no different with our body. So most of it's nutrition, and then the exercise really just helps to do a couple different things. It helps you to detox because you're sweating. It helps your lungs because you're perspiring. You're you're breathing out all the toxins in the lungs along with your sweating. It helps with your metabolism. Helps speed up your metabolism, helps keep going. And it also helps you get rid of toxins that's down in the legs, in the lymph system. You've seen people with these swollen legs. You can tell they sit down, they don't move. So the only way to get that out your body is to exercise. We were meant to be moving. So you got to do both. Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Now, earlier we spoke about, there being a lot of preventable health issues in our community. And previously I used to do a lot of consulting work in the field of chiropractic. And, their whole claim to fame is that they have the ability to help the body heal essentially without the use of drugs or surgery. Now, I know that you practice both holistic healing and traditional medicinal healing, which for most people are actually polar opposite schools of study. Could you maybe tell us when, I guess, the body should be healing itself versus when we should decide to employ medicine? And the reason why I'm asking is, let's say, for example, you might hear about someone who got diagnosed with cancer, and maybe they try to go to some, holistic.
You're listening to an exclusive interview found on RestoreBlackAmerica.org. That's RestoreBlackAmerica.org.
A way for us to kind of look at when to use what or how to employ what when?
That's a great question, too, because that answer is loaded as well, and it's not black and white. It really isn't a right way or wrong way. First of all, I always look at what people want. What are they expecting? What's really happening in their body? Because no two persons' issue is the same. Even though they may have the same quote-unquote dis-ease, right? If you say you want to use a cancer, for example, maybe two women with the same breast cancer, but that woman is going to be different from that woman, because they're two different people. They got two different lifestyles, two different spirits, two different energies. So if you really break it down that way, you really look at how severe it is. You look at what that person really wants. I used to see a lot of people going through things because the family wanted them to. They were ready to transition. They were ready to deal with whatever they had. They didn't maybe want this particular chemo or whatever, but the family was like, you got to go, you got to fight. So I really think that that particular issue is based on what that person wants. What I have found is that there's a way to help somebody with all these different modalities that we have, right? We have healing in so many different arenas, and they can all be helpful to someone, depending on what stage they're in and where they are. If they need surgery, they need a surgeon. But after that, their body's got to heal. Maybe they can use an adjustment to heal. Maybe they need medication to heal. Maybe they need diet changes to heal. Actually, all of that could be helpful for somebody, right? So it depends on the severity. It depends on the mindset of the person and what they want. And I just think we have to decide as people how to get enough information so that we're making the best decision, the informed decision.
Right. Oh, absolutely. No, that's good. And one thing, since we're kind of talking about the factoring in the traditional medicine in there, one of the challenges that we see is how to deal with some of the side effects that we get with some of the traditional medicine, because as you know, sometimes those things can be just as bad or as worse as what's being treated. It seems like when you watch a lot of these commercials, they're rolling off side effects like credits at the end of the movie. Is there a particular holistic approach to maybe combat some of these side effects if someone finds themselves in a situation where they have to take traditional medicine?
That's a great question, too, and that's something that you can connect with your physician on. Everybody has to be informed in what they are taking. I will tell you, one of the challenges we face in medicine in general is making people understand that they're in the driver's seat as well. It's not just the doctors telling them what to do. It's not just a prescription drug. That's a small piece of it. The ownership has to come from the individual. The doctors are consultants. The drugs are tools. So when you commit to taking this medication, you go to somebody who's an expert, who's been trained in this particular area. They're experts in all areas, Rafi. We got experts in healing, energy. We got experts in chiropractic. We got experts in DO medicine, osteopathic. We have experts in allopathic medicine. So when you're sitting in front of someone who's an expert in their field, they're speaking from what they know. And you listen, and you look at what they're offering you based on your symptoms that you have, and you have to ask yourself, is this something that I want to do? Do I feel like this is a safe treatment for me? You know, if you're about to have a stroke, I would listen, you know, if you're really in a serious situation. But when it comes to the long-term issue, that's when you start having big problems if you're not aware of what the drug is doing. There's enough information on the internet now. Every drug comes with a printout when you pick it up from the pharmacy. So it's just a matter of reading through it. When it comes to the side effects, there are always side effects to everything. There's always cause and effect. There's the yin and the yang of life in general. It just is. So if you look at it and say, okay, I'm taking this water pill, and one of the side effects is it's going to mess up my potassium, so now I got to take a potassium supplement. If I'm about to stroke out and my blood pressure's sky high, well, this may be saving my life right now, so I do it. But once I get over that, you know, do I want to change and do something different? So, yeah, that's the best way to look at the side effect issue, is understanding what they are. and if you're willing to take the risk. Is the illness worse than the risk of the side effects? Sometimes it is.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, a good way to look at it. Now, we're sort of talking about the idea of having a healthy overall lifestyle. What are some of the additional items that maybe we should have inside of our household that would help encourage more of a healthy lifestyle, or more healthy living?
Oh, this is a great question. Yes. Well, I really, really, really encourage people to have some type of meditative spiritual practice. So having a sacred place in your home where you can go and just unload, that you can just sit there and be at peace. Like I'm sitting in my backyard right now. I got oak trees sitting over me. You know, it's a very calm, healing environment. So sometimes I'll come out here. But if you don't have that, creating a sacred space in your house, you know, where you can just go and be by yourself, be alone to meditate. Also, essential oils, in my opinion, are nature's best gift to us to have in our home for healing. Oils can do so much for balance in the body. They have actually been used. Some doctors, that's all they use. If you go see them, they're going to tell you what oil to use for whatever condition you may have. So there's a lot you can do in your home with those. Definitely superfoods in your cabinet, in your kitchen, like spirulina and maca powder. If you don't know what those are, let me know and I can teach you. Moringa is another one that a lot of people are learning about. I love moringa. You know, having your fruits and vegetables in your home, very important, you know, to have your cabinets stocked with quality food. And then also it's important about what toxins you're using to clean your house. Sometimes you have a clean house and it's completely toxic. Think about the bug sprays that you use. It'd be immaculate, you know, no crumbs on the floor, everything put in its place, and you walking around, you know, using Clorox and toxic chemicals. And the air quality now is toxic in your beautiful home. So being green in what we use to clean our homes is important too. And something that I purchased about a year ago now, have you heard of the rainbow before? Have you heard of a rainbow?
No, I have not.
A lot of people have it, and I hadn't either, but I never thought about how we clean our carpets. We use a vacuum, right? And the vacuum, once you really look at what happens with a vacuum, it actually doesn't clean as much as we think, and it contaminates the air. So we invested in a rainbow about a year ago, and it's amazing what an air purifier can do in your home. So something like that can make a huge difference, too. I have to tell you about a vacuum later. It's amazing.
Okay, no, that sounds interesting. And I want to kind of jump back to something that you said, because you kind of talked about having a sort of a relaxing place in your home or somewhere you can go to meditate or do things of that nature. One of the things that I see so often, especially with Black people especially, is that many of us live very stressful lifestyles. Could you explain maybe the effects of stress on our actual overall health?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, stress. The definition of stress is very controversial because a lot of people will say that stress is fear-based, and that's deep. You have to let that marinate for a second, because you can put two people in the same situation. One person perceives it as stress and the other one doesn't. So it's very much individualized, and it's how you're wired as well in terms of how you're going to perceive the environment you're in. And so when you look at it and you think about how we interpret things and then the thought process that we have, and we're all guilty of it, it's just different levels. It's about perception. It really is. Now, if you're living in a rural environment, for instance, and there's no traffic, you can get to the grocery store in 5 minutes, and everybody's driving 10 miles an hour. That's going to be different from if you're living in a metropolitan city and people are honking at you and screaming at you, right? Right. So that has a lot to do with it. It's our environment. And a lot of what we do see, and we're reacting to our environment, now we got physical symptoms. There's a lot of high blood pressure that, to me, is symptom-based, based on our lifestyle choices and our environment. So I've seen that where A person would come see me in the office, their blood pressure sky high, but they've been driving in traffic, they've been frustrated with their coworkers or their environment at work, and then they come to the doctor and their blood pressure sky high. Well, do they have high blood pressure, or are they just frustrated?
Right.
Which one needs treatment?
Okay. Right. That's true, right? That's true. That's very true, because one of them is an actual stimuli versus a response. So that's really interesting. Now you mentioned earlier about meditation. Do you have any maybe meditation techniques or anything that you can share for someone who may not be used to meditating, or what does that look like for them?
First, they would want to understand what they're trying to accomplish. You made a good point earlier about labels, and meditation can be a label for somebody. They're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to meditate. So really understanding what the practice is supposed to be about, and what it is and what it isn't. Now, there are tons of different schools of thought on meditation, but to break it down is really just taking time to separate yourself from the day-to-day, taking time to relax your mind, and to focus on something. That focus might be quiet time and peace. That focus might be meditating and asking for answers to something that you have wanted or you needed, and you're listening for those answers. And so everybody can start getting where you're fitting in. Some people can sit for hours. Most people that start can't. And you just want to purposely set the intention to have that time, that quiet time, where you shut off your TV, your phone, and you just spend time alone and quiet. And a lot of it is breathing, too. So if somebody's very new to it, you definitely want to just take 5 minutes at a time. Don't try to sit for a long time, but just get still. Get still, get quiet, and pay attention to what really is going on in your mind. Because the mind, you'll go through 1,000 different thoughts in 5 minutes. You'll see why we can't focus. So meditation, a lot of times, is just offloading that, just sitting down, being quiet, connecting with the energy of the world, the energy of source, and listening for answers.
That's true, and I think that'll help you definitely remove a lot of the frustrations that people have, which also cause some of the health issues that we're kind of talking about. And speaking of being frustrated, I want to ask you this too. One of the challenges that I think that most people find when trying to live a healthy lifestyle is that, especially when it comes to eating healthy sort of seems to be either extremely expensive or extremely inconvenient. Could you maybe give us some tips on how to eat healthy either more conveniently, and then also what could we realistically expect as a financial investment to living a healthy lifestyle? Because we do know that there will be some financial investment.
Good question. Yes. And so first it starts with the decision. It starts with the decision to make health our number one priority. And that is my mission. That's one of my missions, especially just to tell people, look, we've got to make that decision, because most of us are blessed enough to have finances when we can make choices. Some aren't, but a lot of us do, and we make those choices based on our priorities. So the healthy lifestyle starts with the decision. Then it starts with our budget. What comes first in the budget? What's the first line on your budget? And for us, it's our food. And for me, my supplements and products that I use every day. Because there was one point where I weighed 50 pounds more, and it was because of all these issues we're talking about now. But when I made the decision, everything else took place. I'll give you an example. We got rid of our cable. Like, I would rather spend my money not watching ratchet television, because there's nothing on for me personally that I like that's helping me grow. And I put it in my food, right? So that becomes the first choice. And then after that, you get smart. Now, you're talking about us as a culture, as Black people. When did we really, really, really have a ton of resources? I mean, as a people.
Right.
Did we come here rich?
Right.
No. But we knew how to cook. So if you're embracing a healthy lifestyle, you got to cook. There's no way around it. You got to learn how to shop at the store and where to shop. So thinking about grains, like, you You can start with dried beans, right, and oatmeal, and that's not going to cost you very much, but you can cook with it. So going back to the basics, going back to, the meals that you create in your home, that's how you start doing. Eating out is very, very expensive. And you're right. There is a lot of competition. You've been working all day long. You got to feed your kids. You're tired. Or you're an entrepreneur, or you're a young single person, whatever the story may be. It is quicker to run into a restaurant and grab something. But what's going to happen a year later? How are you going to feel after you eat that stuff? So it's a conscious choice. And I live in an area where there's fast food all over the place. And I drive right by it. I don't even patronize it.
I'm going to say that's really interesting. You brought up an interesting point, too, about sort of giving up your cable and utilizing some of that money for healthier things. And I always tell people, just like, you feed your body, you do have to feed your brain. And unfortunately, a lot of things that come through cable television are essentially like junk food for the brain. So, if you get rid of some of those things, you can put it into something a lot healthier. So that makes a lot of sense. So now, could you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing currently in terms of what you're doing in the community as far as some of your health and healing programs and some of the things you're involved in?
Yes, that's excellent. Yes, thank you. Well, I left traditional practice in terms of the day-to-day grind of it about 2 years ago. After my mom passed away, I decided to take care of myself. So I've been on a sabbatical for a while to nurture myself and to prepare myself so I can heal more people. And I actually decided to join this awesome company that has great products and that, to me, helps me speak my vision. It's called Zija International, and we have the best quality moringa that you can find on the market. And so I'm a distributor with them, and I love teaching. So I do a lot of teaching in the community. I love to speak, especially about all these things we're talking about today. So if somebody is looking for someone to come talk at their civic organization or their church or what have you, I'm definitely open to doing those because it's not about me. It's about the community, wherever we are, whatever community we're in. And then I also have partnered with a business partner of mine. Her name is Dee Shaw, and she founded a program for it was for weight management. But it's very interesting. It's called Metamorpho. Like we're metamorphosizing, we're changing, we're growing. And we set people up to succeed for life. So learning how to read your food labels, learning how to make a smoothie, understanding why you're emotionally eating, all those things. How does your body work? Most people don't even know what their liver does. So it's a teaching program. And we take people through a 12-week journey on that. So we have that. And then I really am in the process now of developing a consultation service for people as well, because I want people to be able to get enough help to answer some of these questions they have.
Okay, most definitely. And if somebody's listening to this, if they wanted to get in contact with you, how could they reach out to you?
Best way to find me is on social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Gayla Gates, and I also have a Dr. Gayla Facebook page. You can reach out to me there. Please like and follow. I post a lot of healthy information on there. And then I'm also on Instagram as Gayla Gates ND. I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn as well under Gayla Gates. So you can find me, connect with us. I'd love to partner with some people that want to change the world.
Yes, most definitely. Okay, well, great. Well, we're going to conclude this interview. I want to definitely thank you for the information that you shared. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value for it as they continue on their journey to living healthier lifestyles. And hopefully we'll see you at the RBA cooking classes as well, the healthy cooking classes. Also, I think you bring a lot of value there. I'm sure a lot of people would love to see you there as well. So
sure. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you, Dr. Gates, and we will talk soon.
Okay. All right. Be blessed, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
what's going on, everybody? This is Rossi Eason, founder of the Restore Black America Foundation and author of the Restore Black America book. And you know how this whole thing came about, man, is real interesting. Years ago, I had a friend of mine introduce me to something called the Willie Lynch letter. And if you don't know what that is, it was actually a transcript of a speech given at a slave owners convention. And it talked about how to control black people, not through force, but through psychology, talking about putting old against young, light skin against dark skin, male against female. And it pretty much outlines all of the problems that we have today. So when I read this plan and I said, if this is a plan to destroy black people, if I reverse engineer this, could we create a plan to rebuild the black community? Hence the term Restore Black America. So this book is actually broken down into a 6-step action plan that outlines a restoration process for the next 100 years. Those 6 steps are culture, economics, family, politics, health, and spirituality. And the way the whole premise goes is that this letter was actually written in 1712, and it said that if you actually put this plan in place, that you'll be able to control black people for the next 300 years. 2012 was actually the end of that 300-year mark. When I wrote this book, it came out in 2013, which is the first year after that 300-year mark. I founded the Restore Black America Foundation as a way to actually implement this 100-year plan. Not only to give people the information, but the actual tools in order to make a change. So basically what I've done is put this book together in a 100-year plan for the black community. Restore Black America is more than just a book. It's more than just a foundation. It's an entire movement sweeping across the black community. So be sure to stay tuned for our documentary as we outline the 6-step action plan for restoring Black America and taking our culture back. Holla.